The real way to make money on books is through the speaking, the coaching, the consulting. And frankly, that's the great thing about books. Books lead to multiple streams of income. And today you're going to learn how to turn your book into multiple streams of income that can launch your career. Hi, I'm Dan Janal. I'm a book coach, developmental editor and ghostwriter, and prone to making word mistakes when I speak, I guess. And no matter where you are with your book, I can help you finish it and get it over the finish line. Our guest today is Susan Friedmann. She's the author of many books, a couple of dummies books, from riches to niches, wide range of information. She's certainly turned numerous books into numerous careers, and she's going to share her experiences and how you can turn your book into a career. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. Good to be here, Dan. Good to be with your group. Thank you.
My pleasure. Let's dispel one myth right off the bat. Yes, there are some people who can make a lot of money selling books if they really put their minds to it and they really have a large platform. But for many of us who are speakers, coaches, consultants, and business professionals, selling a lot of books is not going to be in our future, but writing a book can lead to multiple streams of income. So tell us about your journey and how you started writing your books and realized that the money is in the consulting and the coaching, and how did you get that to that point where you turned your readers or turned your book into a marketing tool that created multiple streams of income for you?
So I love that question, Dan. And interestingly enough, I actually started the other way around. That I was in the speaking training business and going to National Speakers Association for the very first time. I did ask some of the experts there. I said, what do I do? What do I need to do to get on more stages, get known in my industry? And I was told, write a book. So that wasn't in the stars for me at the time at all. But of course, once that seed was planted, Dan, I needed to go with it. And I was told, well, it doesn't matter if it gets published or not. You just write the book, you can self-publish. And I was like, no, I want a publisher. I definitely want a publisher. And that's what I did. I went in search of a publisher who fit my style of writing. And Dan, I know working with so many different authors, there are so many different styles. And my style is very much, the tips and techniques. That's why, having written Dummies book and a For Idiots guidebook was just the right style. But I found a company, Chris Publications. They published books. They said their marketing, what was it, their pitch, their tagline was, you can read this book in 50 minutes or less. And so cover to cover, and that was perfect. It was tips and techniques, and that's exactly what I did. I wrote tips and techniques exhibiting at trade shows. Let me show you. Exhibiting at trade shows, tips and techniques for success. Not exactly the most sexiest of titles. However, I did manage to sell over 500,000 copies of the book. And that in and of itself is a whole story. And we can go into that if you want. But I actually used the book to build credibility in my marketplace because I was an unknown in the trade show industry, which is where I specialized. I was in a niche market, and which by the way, I feel is at the core of everything that you do with regard to your book and your marketing, your speaking, your training, is to be in a niche market. So I've done enough talking for now, Dan. So where do you want to direct this?
I think that's a good background. Let's stick with the trade show coach. You were the trade show coach for many years, then you switched hats, but let's focus on that. So you were in the industry, you had a lot of competition, you said you were not known, so you wrote a book to get known. What were the next steps? You have this book now. How did you use that to leverage the books so you had more fame, more credibility, and it was easier to get clients?
Absolutely. So I was looking at how can I use this book now, because I was probably one of two or three people in the industry who actually had a publication, who actually had a book. So that in and of itself helped me stand out from everybody else who was doing what I was doing, or similar to what I was doing, which at the time was training exhibitors how to be more effective at trade shows. So it was a real niche that I was in, which was to my advantage. And I looked at other at companies who had the same target audience as me. And those are the people who I wanted to speak to and who I went to with my book and said, hey, how would you like to give this book to every one of your customers or your clients or your prospects, you know? And so I actually went to the trade show for the trade show industry. And Dan, I know you know that one, but it sounds such a funny, just something strange that a trade show industry would have its own trade show, which it did. And I actually looked at companies there who would be interested in the book and in me, not only to buy the book, but for me to help train their clients how to do trade shows more effectively. And so that's really, was my focus, is to look at that and find companies who had that same target audience as me, and where we were not in competition, but we could still work together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like you didn't rely on social media or publicity or email marketing. You actually pressed the flesh and met people face to face.
Yes, yes. And it was the olden days, Dan, when social media did not exist.
Right, right. The more people I talk to, the more people are saying that the old-fashioned way is really what works now, because people get too much email and they scroll through LinkedIn and do like. They don't even read anything. They're just, showing up. So maybe everything old is new again. So you're meeting with these people, you're talking to them. Um, how did you decide to price your book? How did you do bulk sales? And I realize that we're talking in like 1970 or $1980, but what general guidelines do you have for pricing a book? And I'll ask this two ways, because I know that you self-publish and you publish other people's books too. So there's a different economic model there. But Chris Publications, they want to make money, so you couldn't offer the book at a ridiculously low price because you weren't the publisher. How did you figure out how to price your book for bulk sales?
Actually, they dictated that.
Oh,
However, as you rightly said, I have my own publishing company and I work with nonfiction authors, and our focus is very much on the marketing side of how can they sell their books in bulk. And then we're looking at, well, if you sell, let's say, a softcover book for $19.99, which is sort of rule of thumb, very average, what's it cost per unit? What do you want to make on each book? Are you selling 100 or are you selling 1,000? So depending on your numbers, you would look at what would be, where could you start making some money on this? When you start in the thousands, you can afford to make less per book, and it's going to cost you less to print larger quantities than it is obviously for the smaller quantities. So again, there's looking at the economics on that. And when you self-publish, or when you the way our model at Aviva Publishing works, you actually keep the profits of your book, everything so you can determine the price you want to sell it at.
Yeah, I remember when I made my first bulk sale of my first book, How to Publicize High-Tech Products and Services. It was quite a shock to me. I was actually at an editor's day for Macworld magazine, which is basically where they bring in lots of companies and PR people, and you demonstrate your products to the editors. And they have a nice buffet lunch in the middle. So I was staying on the buffet line, and the guy in front of me said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a PR guy, and I wrote this book called How to Publicize High-Tech Products and Services. I said, what do you do? He said, well, I'm the publisher of Macworld magazine. How much did it cost you to make your book? And I said, $6. And he said, how much you sell it for? And I said, 49. He said, I'll give you $7 for 1,000 of them. And I thought, wait a second, it costs $49. He said, I know, but you're going to want to move 1,000 copies of your book out of your garage, make a quick $1,000, reduce your cost of printing, and I'm going to give the book to my advertising people, and they're going to give the book to 1,000 different companies in Silicon Valley, and you're going to become famous overnight. Do we have a deal? I said, yeah, I think we have a deal.
This was a no-brainer. That was one of those no-brainers.
Right. But it also taught me the difference between, don't get married to your list price, because there's money to be made in other ways, and there are other ways to benefit as well from your book. So let's talk about some other ways of multiple streams of income from either that book or other books. Obviously, you turned it into speaking engagements, you turned it into coaching and training. Were there other ways to make money from your book?
Well, courses. I mean, online courses now are the big thing. And, your book, you can cut, dice, and slice your book in many different ways, and just realize there is so much material, from the articles. You can turn them into mini books. What I've done in the past is and I've got them here somewhere. I put everything in my hand. I took chapters of my book and I created, smaller booklets. And these I could give away, or I could sell as a bundle. So I always like to look at how can you cut, slice, and dice your book in as many different ways as you can. But you mentioned, I mean, to make money with your book, speaking, training, coaching, and creating those online courses as well now. Those are ways that you're going to make money with your book. I just attended Amy Porterfield's session on digital courses, and she's selling one course and she's making thousands of dollars with just one course. So it doesn't mean that you have to have lots of different courses. You can have one, a starter course, or you can have a signature course, or she calls it a spotlight course. You can have lots of different types of courses, which you could do live, and then you can record it and then sell the recordings. I mean, there's so many different ways in which you can do this. So yes, it's just a matter of who's your market, what do they need, and how can you give them the information that they need in the best possible way, not only for you, but also obviously for them, because it's all about what they need.
Right. And people learn in so many different ways. Some people learn by reading, some people listen by audiobooks, some people by the experiential of work.
Exactly. The options now are just incredible. I mean, that we've got the audio version. For instance, I've just been talking to a company about doing audio books using AI, and they sound so good that even, Audible, can't tell the difference. So the technology has gotten so great with this that there's so many different opportunities out there now that, yes, it's just a matter of finding a few things or just one and just doing it. Yeah.
Let's dig deeper into that, because you're known for your book, Riches. I'm gonna mess up the title. The Riches and Niches, or
Riches and Niches: How to Make It Big in a Small Market.
Right.
Yes.
the biggest problem I have with my prospects is that they're not focused. They say, who's your book for? And the answer is everybody. And I say, oh no,
Mhm.
I know where this conversation is going. And they say, I have ideas not just for one book, but I have ideas for 3 books and 2 screenplays. And I say, okay, they're not focused. Susan, can you spend a few minutes talking to us about the importance of being focused and finding your niche, and actually some how-to steps to think that you think you've narrowed your niche? No, you haven't, until you've asked these questions that micromanage it down. Because you did trade shows, and I don't know if you trade shows in a specific niche or a specific market, but tell us about that. How can we really get ultra focused on our market?
Yeah. So this is the one thing that when authors come to me, like when they come to you, I mean, the first thing I say is, who's your market and what do you want the book to do for you? Two essential questions. And again, my book is for everyone. Yes, it might be, excuse me. Yes, your book might be for everyone. And not even Procter and Gamble and some of the, other multinationals even try to market to everyone. They have their little niches with their products. I mean, Nike, I think, is one of the best examples where you look at, they have got products in every single sport. They don't try and sell all of them at any one time. The athletes, the runners are going to go after the equipment for the runners. The hockey players are going to after the hockey, gear and everything. So you're going to look at narrowing it. Then I get, well, women between the ages of 30 and 60. Okay, again, far too broad. The people at 30-year-olds have very different needs and wants to the 60-year-old woman. So are they professionals? If they are professionals, what industry are they in? Are you in healthcare? Are you in automotive? Are you in education? What industry? You can niche by topic. Like you could say, I teach stress management. Okay, well, who do you teach it to? Well, maybe people in the healthcare environment. One of our NSA colleagues she was an RN. Well, apparently once you're an RN, you're always an RN. So she was an RN. She got burnt out. She wanted to leave nursing, and she said, I don't want to have anything to do with the nursing environment. I was like, not so fast. You have credibility in that arena. People know you. You understand the trials and tribulations, the burnout factors in that industry. You are very important, and that you have that credibility in that industry. So let's leverage that and take what it is that you want to do. You're dealing with stress management into that environment and speak to them about how they can cope with that. So often I find that people's background are the best target for that niche market. Where do you have credibility? Most people with a book already have some background. They're not coming straight, very few are coming straight out of college. They've got some background. If we go around the room here, everyone's got some background. And look at that background and look at where could you potentially fit in with your book. That's always a good starting point. But narrowing it down by industry, by topic, it could be geographic. I mean, you could let's say you want to work with chiropractors and you want to work with female chiropractors in the Denver area. Okay, so that's already narrowing the focus down to one particular area. But I love working with individuals and talking about, how to take their sort of focus or their background and focus it in on where they could fit in and find their little place in the market, their little niche, which is exactly it's a little corner. That's what the word means in French, a niche. Yes. So yes. We could go on for ages about this, Dan. It's like
Right. Good. Yeah, this reminded me of the other thing to consider when you're thinking about your topic. A lot of us forget the beginner's mindset and how hard certain things are that other people find certain things hard that we find incredibly easy. I mean, I spoke at a summit the other day, and one of the other speakers was talking about something about publicity, and they mentioned how they have a program that will help you find the publications that would be interested in your topic. And I thought, there's a seminar on that? I mean, that's like PR 101. It's like the easiest thing in the world to do. And they're actually selling a course and making money on that. It's like, it's like how to tie your shoes 101. And they're making money on that. It's
called the curse of knowledge, Dan. That curse of knowledge. We think just because we know it, everybody else knows it. And because we think it's simple or it's 101 for us, the ABCs, that it is for everybody. And the fact is that 101 courses are actually the ones that tend to be bought the most. I mean, that's why I actually love, the Dummies series, and where, I just republished, and that's another story. But, Dummies, their whole premise is literally, giving you the basics of every single industry, every single topic, not industry, but topic. They take a topic, and I mean, if you ever look at a table of contents of a Dummies book, it like goes into every single detail. It's beautiful. And in fact, when you write one of these books, they want you to put the table of contents together before you ever write anything. It's the skeleton, and they want that skeleton to be really good before you put any meat on those bones.
Well, I tell my clients to do that. I work with my clients to do that as well, because once you have that outline, you'll never have writer's block. You'll know exactly what to write about.
Exactly. It's perfect, Han. Yeah. Then it becomes write by numbers, and I know you like writing by numbers.
Exactly. Susan, tell us, who is your ideal client and how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, well, thank you. My ideal client are nonfiction authors who want to sell their books in bulk and want to know how to market more effectively with their book, because it's more than just Amazon. There's a lot more out there, and looking at non-traditional ways of finding where there are markets, where there are pockets for your book. And I would love to offer your listeners a 20-minute brainstorming session with me, where we can look into, finding the right niche for yoursels, and what a good marketing plan might look like for you. And they can do that, Dan, at brainstormwithsusan.com. Don't put anything in front of it. It's just brainstormwithsusan.com. And that'll take you to my calendar, and you can book a session with me. That's 20 minutes.
Fantastic. Thanks for making that offer. And thanks to everyone for listening to our podcast. You can find 200 other episodes. I think, Susan, you are episode number 200. Congratulations.
Oh, well, I love it. It's great. Thank you.
So lots of information on YouTube to help you write and market your book in a flash. Thank you for joining us.